We're on letter 7, and it's going to be a beautiful night as always. And I know it's bittersweet because this is the last chapter of the Christ letters. Um, and tonight's chapter gonna give a brief look at the previous chapters and things we went over. So this is not okay. Yeah, and things we went over. So if you find me tonight and you'll be like, oh, what's the Christ letters? You'll get or if you've been listening to me for a while and you don't understand what the Christ letters are, this what chapter 7 does. It goes over things blinking. Yeah, it goes over the previous chapters we've covered. All right. And also And the topic tonight is we do not need to worship God. It's worshiping God, it's paganism. And if you come into consciousness, you understand that what worship does, it 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 thinks who we truly are, that we're separate from our creator. That's what worshiping does. And we just according to Billy Carson, that we have a worship gene. It's not that we have a worship gene. I think we just know that there's a greater power bigger than us, and because of the deception and everything, we just think, and we were taught to worship something outside of ourselves. We know that we have to give thanks to our creator, give thanks. All we have to do is just be thankful and be grateful. If you call that worship, well, that's worship. um we don't have to worship anything outside of ourselves. And the Christ letter will cover that tonight. All right, so let us get into these letters. We're on letter 7, as I mentioned earlier, of the Christ letters. Okay, so I, the Christ, I've come through the medium of these letters because I cannot return in bodily form or take on human personality again, since I reside in an um since I reside in and am myself of such fine and heightened vibrational frequencies of consciousness that no human physical form could contain my spiritual consciousness. So this first verse totally totally disprove that the coming back of Christ um, is physical. It is not physical, it's spiritual. There is no body on this earth that can hold that vibrational consciousness. That's one thing it does. That there's Jesus not going to come through the sky to save us. No one is coming to save you. You have to save yourself. Another thing it does, it tells you who we truly are, that within this physical body, there's a divine aspect of us. There's a divine aspect of us. And another thing it says to me, that some of us are here to elevate our consciousness so we can vibrate higher in different consciousness. Right now, Christ is at the level where he can't come back to this earth physically. He can't, because he's too powerful. As let's use a word that we hear in this earth, powerful. It tells you is vibrational frequencies of consciousness is so heightened that he can't come back in flesh. So let's get this out of our mind, that Jesus is not coming back in and through the sky, and the sky is going to open and all that. It's metaphorically. I do understand a new earth is coming in where the sky, that's another teaching I have to give because there's nothing up there. And and that's gonna go, and the Bible tell you the sun, the stars gonna fall because it's just an imitation for what's underneath. All right. So just this first paragraph, um, three takeaway. One, Christ is not coming through the sky, opening the sky and come to save us. Two, um, that prove who you are. Look at this first paragraph and understand that who you are. You are not this physical body. There's a divine aspect of you who keeps this body working. This tells you that. This first paragraph tells you that. That's not going to happen. Okay. And three, what did I say? E comes the no human physical form could contain the, yeah, nobody can contain, there's no physical form here that can um, contain that divine aspect of God. No, nothing here can. No body here can. No physical body can hold that that divine power. And the truth is, we are here to also to ascend. Everyone's here, even if you don't have a soul. You're here to evolve and get a soul. The goal is for you to understand who you are, understand the divine being that you are. Okay, so let's continue. My only means of reaching you has been through the medium of a human being, sensitive, clairaudient, obedient, and dedicated to God. Born to the channel, born to be the channel. Oh, she was born to be. I'm saying she, I'm not sure if it's a she or a him. This person doesn't take credit for what's written in these letters, so she don't even use a name. I don't know why I'm saying she, but could be him. Okay, let's start over. My only means of reaching you has been through the medium of human being, sensitive, clairaudient, obedient, and dedicated to God, born to be the channel through whom I would watch the tumult of her active, eventful life and world events. I have been able to intimately review the conflict and pain unknown in centuries past because scientific and technological discoveries and the lessening of moral and conventional values have led to new highly stressful conditions of modern living and new ways of relating to each other. Through the medium of this pliable mind, the modern human condition has, to a slight degree, become subject for me. Without this knowledge of the human experience, these letters could not have been written in a form which is intended to be helpful to the human condition at this time. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we're going back. Christ is explaining how these letters come about. Someone was chosen from birth for and prepared. This person went through everything that we went through. Is probably struggled just like we did, but she was born for this purpose. Um, that Christ can consciousness can descend and speak to her so that she can write these letters for us. Because when you come into consciousness, you don't, it seems like we're still fallen. We haven't evolved spiritually. We are in the dark more than our ancestors, even maybe even our grandmothers. our great grandmothers. And my grandmother died 10 years ago. And it seems like we have knowledge, less knowledge of spirituality even than she did. So this Christ coming, this is what it is. Christ is already here. The Christ consciousness to bring us into all truth. It's already here. Okay, so this is what happens. Someone, because we keep falling, because I think it says scientific and technological discoveries, um, the lessening, the lessening of moral and conventional values have led to new, highly stressful conditions of modern living and new ways of relating to each other. We are so separated. Even when my grandmother was growing up, they are your grandmother. They weren't this separated as we are today. No sense of community, nothing, nothing. So this is why Christ promised that he will return, because he knew that this time was going to happen. So a mind was prepared for his consciousness, um, for Christ's consciousness, to use to write these letters. As he said, there's nobody here that can hold him because he's too powerful right now. This flesh can't hold him. All right. So the process of partial overshadowing began before her birth, continued in her youth and life, beginning with the thorough deprogramming of the mind and full cleansing of old concepts. My recorder has been deliberately subjected to every type of human experiences, bearing witness to the struggles and sorrow involved in modern living. With my instruction, she has climbed out of her many diverse holes of distress, culminating in the death of her ego and mental emotional bondage to materialism. She is learning how to move into the consciousness frequencies of universal love and has had personal experience of the reality of universal consciousness. So has she been sufficiently cleansed to receive ever more clearly my teachings to distribute throughout the world. So this is just telling you about the person called the recorder who was used. This person was chosen from birth and went through, just like Christ did, by the way, went through all the struggles like we do, the ups and the downs of this world, went through everything and was prepared for the purpose of Christ imprinting these letters into her consciousness. She, just like many today, are raising their vibrational frequencies, are coming into the world of who we are. We're deprogramming the program that was given to us at birth. And if you said, what's that program, deep ministry? The program that we're separate from God, that we need to worship someone outside of ourselves, that Jesus is going to come back to help us, come through the sky to help us. He's coming back to help us, but not physically. We will not see him. And there's so many programming. Oh, it's something outside of ourselves that's causing our illness, that's causing our disease, and we are not responsible for everything. And we need to go into a church and we need to be led. That's all this programming, and we have to deprogram. When you become conscious, you are deprogrammed. And when and then they give us some form of history of who we are and where we come from. That's another program. And when you become consciousness, you even see through that that history, that it's total programming. Nothing. They mix the truth with the lie, and then you have to go through it with with the help of your higher selves, your guides, and with Christ. You can deprogram and go through the clutter of all that we've been taught. Anything outside of self, we should shun it. Anyone tell us that anything to worship outside of who we are, we should shun it. Okay? Yeah, so this is what she has done. Let me just have a few highlights about the recorder and just a history. If you have seen the um, if you're wondering about the Christ letters, this is just describing who Christ used to help us help in writing these letters. Under my influence, she has withdrawn from social life into seclusion and aloneness and has ultimately become dependent on me for her daily will to live. And I work through her total minute by minute readiness to receive my words whenever cosmic and or personal consciousness energies enable her to hear and receive me. I rely on her honesty and dedication to wait to hear me accurately, and I make it clear when it is I who speak. Until I speak, she is unable to write. So this is just a background of how the Christ letters was created, of how the Christ letters was written. This is just a a background of how the Christ letters was written. And a takeaway coming to me from this paragraph is we see how we have to be when we call on Jesus. You call him Jesus, I call him Christ. When we call on Jesus, you see how our mind has to be focused to hear. That's why meditation is so important. It helps us focus our mind. We have to declutter our thoughts and our programming, our beliefs, basically. Because if you believe that the God is outside of you and all of that, you're not going to hear. You have to change your beliefs that the power is within you. Our beliefs hinder us from receiving our blessings. That when it hinder our prayers, our belief system. So we see how this person was prepared to receive what Christ had to give this person for us. Okay? I have told you this that you may understand out of what Christ consciousness energies these letters have taken from. Hmm? These letters I'm reading is, and if you out there worshiping Jesus, these letters should resonate. These have a divine energy to them. These letters have a divine energy to them. You're looking for Christ to come back. This is it. This is his word. Read the Christ letters. If you're looking for Jesus to open the sky, these are the letters. This is him. Okay? I have come again in this letter to bring together all the loose ends of my other 6 letters and present them within a world context. showing how these teachings are relevant to every aspect of your earthly lives and to all nations. And to all nations. Let me highlight that, showing how relevant these letters are to every aspect of your lives and to all nations. These letters are meant to be the impetus, the spur to a personal opening of the mind and heart to your source of being, and eventually to become the means of your perfect understanding of the effects of individual and mass thought and behavior on every facet every facet of your earthly existence. Let's read that again. These letters are meant to be the impetus, the spur to a personal opening of the mind and heart to the source of your being, to who you truly are, to what God is. This is the purpose of these letters. And eventually to become the means of your perfect understanding of the effects of individual and mass thoughts and behavior on every facet of your earthly existence. And that is it again. Ye have to understand what our thought, mass consciousness is doing to this earth. The program that they're giving us is having a negative effect on our communities and on this in this world at large. And in this world of large. And this is why these letters were written, for us to understand that. Understand the source of your being. Understand who you're worshiping. Understand who God is. Understand it. That's why these Christ returned. This is why he returned. You have to understand who you are. You have to understand, oh, your mind, your thoughts, your emotion. That's what is dictating your life. It's not how much money you make, it's not how hard you work, it's not how much you pray. It's your mind, emotions. That's where the mind, the thoughts, the emotions, that's where the battle is. Understanding who you are, understanding the source of your being. Whereas in the past, the laws given you for national behavior have been directed mainly at you shall not. If you do, this will be the penalty. True spiritual laws are entirely different. They are expressed like this: because you and your place in earthly existence have been created in this way, if you work harmoniously with the laws of your existence, you will open up your entire system of soul, mind, emotions, body, and personal circumstances to the consistent inflow of divine consciousness. Your life force. What's your life force? Divine consciousness. Your life force, the fruits of your disciplined behavior, will return to bless and load you with health, harmony, and prosperity. I did a video a couple weeks ago about okay. I did a video a couple weeks ago about um there was no intention for jails. There's a divine law already in place. There's a divine law already in place for that. We reap what we sow. We reap what we sow. So right here, Christ is differentiating between the laws of this natural earth and the divine laws. What makes us operate the way we do? Mm? How can we have that abundance? How can we have that beautiful life we seek so much? Mm? So, this is what Christ is saying. So instead of all we hear, all our children hear, all our grandchildren will hear, is as whereas in the past the laws given you for national behavior has been directed mainly at you shall not. If you do, this will be the penalty. If you smoke weed, this will be the penalty. If you steal, this would be the penalty. This is just the laws for this earth. True spiritual laws are entirely different. Entirely. This is what how they are expressed. Because you and your place in earthly existence has been created in this way, because you have an ego. If you work harmoniously with the laws of existence, what are the laws of the universe? Everyone goes by that. I think even your pastor goes by this. They follow the laws of the universe, not the law, Moses' law. You reap what you sow. That's one of them. Um, for every there's cause there for it's the same one, cause and effect. I can think there's no duality. There's no him and her. um what else? Yeah, there's no duality. We exist. Yeah, the good person can be the bad person. I think the law of gender, the laws of cause and effect. Um, I can't remember all of them, but study the laws of the universe. That's what should dictate our lives. That's what should dictate our lives, not Moses' law, not Trump's law. Even Trump's, they go by all of them. All of them, because I was thinking if the government killed all these people that we think they kill, um, um, Mother Karma would have been upon them unless they figure out a way how to avoid it. How to avoid it. But because we don't know who we are, we're experiencing karma all the time. We're creating these situations for ourselves because we're blaming the devil, we're blaming things outside of ourselves and not who we are. And not who we are. So we can't pray about it. We can't ask for strength for it. We can't ask for guides we can't ask for direction because we don't have we you even if you ask, you're not getting out because you're telling that it's the devil. Just imagine you're the source of your being, you call him God, Jehovah, whatever you call the source of your being, and you're asking for help, but you get rid of the devil, Father, get rid of the devil. It's like his hands are tied. What are you talking about? It's not the devil cause you to steal somebody's um car. It's not the devil, it's your ego. You're in this materialistic world. If you weren't also in this flesh, you wouldn't have done anything like that. First, take responsibility. Father, help me to overcome these temptations. Help me to find the strength not to succumb to my flesh, not to succumb to my ego. These are the things that allow us to create these things in our lives. Nothing outside of us. If, on the other hand, you ignore these laws of existence, study the laws of existence. If you've come into contact with this ministry, know the laws of the universe. I know they teach us the 10 Commandments. That's just for this materialistic world. And the 10 Commandments don't go further than this materialistic world. All right? If, on the other hand, you ignore these laws of existence and continue living as you did before you receive this message, then your lives will continue to be punctuated by turmoil, difficult climatic conditions, pests in your crops, financial disasters, famines, and stressful lives. And yeah, so this is when we're not following the laws of the universe. This is what happens. If, on the other hand, you ignore the laws of existence and continue living as you did before you received this message, then your lives will continue to be punctuated by turmoil, difficult climatic conditions, pests in your crops, financial disasters, famines, and stressful lives. This is what happens when we don't follow the laws. And I read something before that really the word Lord in the Bible is laws. The word Lord in the Bible is laws, but I never got to do a deeper study of that. I have spoken through these letters expressly to enable you to reach true, consistent peace of mind and spiritual love, joy, and inner healing of mind, emotions, and body. You should have understand by now that this was also the sole purpose behind my last mission to people on earth, to show them how they themselves were creating their own misery. You know, I almost stopped a while ago because it says his last mission on earth. Was Christ here before? Does he visit every generation? Mm, okay, all right. So I had to, that really popped out at me. His last mission on earth. Okay, let me read this again. I have spoken through these letters expressly to enable you to reach true, consistent peace of mind and spiritual love, joy, and inner healing of mind, emotions, and body through these letters. That's its intention. You should have understood by now that this was also my sole purpose behind my last mission to earth, to show them how they themselves were creating their own misery. I like this. What if you want to know why Christ came to earth? This is it. Nothing else. You are creating your own misery. Wherever you find yourself, you create it. You created. This is Christ's ministry on earth. To understand ourselves, to understand the divine being that we are. This is Christ's ministry, nothing else. Not to die for sins. What sins? If you want to understand sin, you could look at my channel. I go deeply into sin. Um, yeah, this is why Christ came, that we may have love, joy, inner healing of mind, emotions, and body. Healing starts with the mind, and you should know why Christ came to earth. You should know why he came. You should know why Christ come to earth. And it says so that you know that you are creating your own misery. We are creating wherever we find ourselves today, we are creating it. You have been taught by Christian churches that you who have been created by God must worship and please God by keeping his laws. Is that what the church tells us? Hmm? This is what the church tells us? You have been taught by Christian churches that you have been created by God, must worship and please God by keeping his laws. And he went into a previous chapter. We don't have to please God. We don't have to worship. We just gotta be grateful. We just gotta be the gods we are. Mhm. But this is not truth. Worshiping God is pagan ritual. Worshiping God is pagan ritual. When people worship God, they set God apart and above them, unreachable and to be feared. For who knows what evil he might send on earth if people did not act according to Israel? This is the impression. This is all truth. This is the impression we were given about God. This is the impression we were given about God. And the truth is, we have to know Him for ourselves. We have to know God for ourselves. That's the truth. And the when I came into this awakening, um, I didn't know the God that was described to me growing up in the church. I didn't know that God. I don't. And it's nothing like that. It's all love. All love. No one to be, oh, I'm God of vengeance. I'm a God to be feared. I do this, I do that. No, 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 no. That's not who our God is. And I didn't know this, that worshiping God is a pagan ritual. I know I heard Billy Carson said once before that a gene, a worshiping gene was placed inside of us, a worshiping gene. I'm not sure how true that is, but if that's true, it's just to take us out of who we are. And I know I heard someone read a letter, um, I think a couple of days ago, um, from that Netherlands, that guy earlier, what's his name? Who went across and cut off the hands of the kids in Africa back in the day. And they expressed how so much effort went into us Negroid, not worshiping outside of ourselves. So much effort was placed um into us not understanding the divine beings that we are. Our ancestors, probably 300 years ago, wasn't didn't have a building called church, wasn't worshiping any gods outside of themselves. And not 300. I just think the Renaissance period, then the Pope of Wall, and when they decide to claim they discover, everything changes. That we were taught to worship something outside of ourselves. And that's why we have to get rid of this programming that we were given by our colonizers. And they did that to keep this earth in balance, to keep us in debt, to keep us in sickness, to keep us in disharmony, unbalance. That's why they did that, because they too understand the laws of the universe. They know it. They understand the laws of the universe. There's no God who's gonna kill you and put disease on you and all that. You are God. You are not the God. It's just as your child is part of you, you are part of the God. And someone on my live on TikTok described it perfectly. God is that ocean. All we are is a cup out of that ocean. And maybe some coloring was put in the water. Um and some have yellow, but it's still God. It's the water is still from that ocean up there. What is it gonna take for us to understand that? What is it gonna take for us to see ourselves separate from God? Huh? We read the scriptures tell us so boldly, boldly. Nothing can separate. Nothing. Why you think nothing can separate us from God? Huh? Why you think nothing can separate us from God? Hmm? So boldly. Is it because He's in us? Huh? We don't have to look outside of us for anything. We just have to have that relationship with the divine self behind this physical person that you see in the mirror. We have to understand who we are. What we have now is what was given to us, is what was programmed into us, and enough people are waking up so that we can't even use that excuse anymore. We can't blame the Catholic Church, the colonizers. We can't blame. The consciousness is rising, the Christ consciousness. Christ has returned, and it's rising in this earth at this time. He has returned. You can't say you'd never heard this before, what I'm saying tonight. You can't. We worshiping and worshiping and worshiping. We have to have a relationship with self. We worry about what David did, and what Solomon did and what Saul did and what Moses did, and what all those Bible characters did. That's what not even their names. Let's start with that. Those people never speak a word of English. Those are not their names. Those are well, I never confirm it, but those are not the names. If there was a Moses, Moses wouldn't be his name. And the English language has no vibration to it, no spirituality to it. So those names are not in English. It's a deeper meaning of self. Those characters are deeper meaning of self. Look at Solomon, the soul of man. Look at Moses, the God of God's own heart. Look at Saul. Huh? Saul was in so much flesh. Huh? He didn't have the heart of David. That's our flesh. Go down and look at them. What Moses mean? Hmm? It's telling us a deeper story about us. There's some people who come to the knowledge and know, and then they said the Bible is not, the Bible is this, and no, it's the interpretation of the Bible that's leading us in the wrong way. Nothing's wrong with the word, and the Bible itself tell us that they took the keys, so we don't understand. We're living in a time of deception. We were living in a time of deception. We're moving into a time of enlightenment. All right. This paragraph just had me, so I've been on this paragraph for a while. So let me continue. 821. Oh, wow. Time's going when you're having fun. But this is not truth. Worshiping God is a pagan ritual. Worshiping God is a pagan ritual. When people worship God, they set God apart and above them, unreachable and to be feared. For who knows what evil he might send on earth if people did not act according to his will? That's all we think. But that was not the message I brought to earth. I spoke to the Father, which supplied all needs which answered when called, which healed when requested to do so, which has both transcendent to people and also within them, meaning that the Creator was universal. The Creator is universal. We so scared that God is outside of us that we don't talk to him. I've learned to talk to your source of being. Whatever you want to call him, it's up to you. I call him Father, Mother, God, Source, Universe. There's no name that can encompass the greatness of God because we can't. It's not a man, it's not a being, it's just there. It's just love. It's just love and it's just there. It's here, it's everywhere, it's nowhere. You can't even say it. You don't have to be in a special place to talk to him. You talk to him everywhere. I think every open space, I just think every area of this world is filled with his presence, but it vibrates at such a high frequency that you can't see it. It's filled. We are in him and he in me. The Bible tells us. Mm. So, so Christ said, no, that's not the message I brought to earth. I spoke of the Father. When he get up in the morning, he said, I can't do nothing. And you have to get to that place. The first thing you do in the morning, you be grateful for that day. And you ask the God of your being to direct and guide. That's why Christ was able to, he tell you that he's not doing it, was able to heal and do all these things that we see in the Bible. He tell you, I didn't do this myself. It's the Father within me. He depend on the God within him. Let me tell you, everything done on the micro level is done on the macro level. Just like how when we have our children, they depend on us to make breakfast until they can do it their own by themselves. It's the same thing. Go inside and ask the direction of your Father. That's what Christ, but instead we worship Christ. We worship him and call him God and Jesus save us from our sins. All that nonsense they program into us. He tell us all the time. You have to experience God. The kingdom of God is within. He tells you in the Christ letters or in the Bible, he wakes up, he makes sure he goes to meditate because he wants direction for the remainder of the day. He knows there's a greater power with him that he's like, I'm giving you the wheel. You take the wheel. Jesus, take the wheel. As the song says, take the wheel through this day. I give it all to you. I surrender all. That's what we should do when we first get up in the morning. And if you're out there, I know I get a lot of comments. Oh, it's not him, it's her, and whatever. Christ tell us in this letter. If he just said call God him because of the belief system in that day, it really would have called say mother. But you could say Father, Mother, God. There has to be a mother. There's not only a father. There's not what's happening in us is not different from what's happening in the whole wide universe. It's we live in as my deacon back in the day used to say, we our God is a God of divine order. We weren't created one way, the sun created one way, the stars created, we all come from the same source. You don't know, but everything happening in the universe, we feel it in our body. That's another law of the universe. We have rhythm. The Bible call it there's a time for everything. There's rhythm in the universe, highs and lows. That's natural. That's natural to us. You know, it's natural to us. So we have to remember Christ's ministry. And when you think of God, and remember, it's not a man, it's nothing that our brain can't fathom who God is. We have to always remember that. We can't fathom who He is. All right. Okay. So the Jewish religion taught that only the chief priests could approach the Holy of Holies and make supplications for the people. The populace could approach Jehovah only through the priests by bringing birds and animals to be offered as burnt sacrifices to appease Jehovah for the people's sin. By these means the Jews by these means the Jews obtained forgiveness of sins. Yes, so we read that also in the Bible. We read that in the Bible how only the chief priests could go to the holies of holies, and the populace, the public, could approach Jehovah only through the chief priests, only through the chief priests, and that is happening today in certain religions where you have to confess to the priest, where you have to confess to the priest so you can get forgiveness. This is coming from back here. Yeah. So yeah, remember the birds and the animals and all that they bring to be burnt on the offering for our sins. Please, if you want to understand what sin is, please check out my videos on deep ministry about sin. There's a lot of them. I repeatedly taught the people that they would receive the Father's forgiveness of sins according to people's willingness to forgive others. For it would be done to them according to their own sowing. That's the law of the universe. We reap what we sow. I also taught the people to approach the Father directly and pray in simple terms, asking for what they needed in life, and assured them that they would be heard and their prayers answered, providing they prayed with total faith, with no doubt in their minds. You must understand that everything I taught the Jews was in direct conflict and opposition to what their religious elders taught them, which was why the priests hated and crucified me, since I was robbing them of their exalted positions as personal henchmen of the Almighty. So now, okay, let me continue. Because for fear of reprisals after my death, the disciples did not break entirely free from the Old Testament. Much of the Old Testament thought was carried forward into the Christian religion. Instead of animals, the body and blood of Jesus were substituted to be sacrifice offered by priests upon the altar. After many years and the entry of Rome as protector of Christian religion, like the Jewish priests before them, the Roman priests dressed themselves in costly vestment and used silver and gold opportunenses. I think this word is opportunenses for religious ceremonies. In the time of Paul, this would be in the time of Paul, this would have been unthinkable. His was a simple message of salvation by my death on the cross, which was not the message I brought to my countrymen in Palestine. He was perpetuating a Jewish tradition of sacrificing another to pay for one's own sinning. What shameful cowardice! Mm. Yet Paul also performed a great service to humanity since he set in motion a movement which would be the means of blessing all races equally. He outlined a mode of thought and daily conduct which would bring harmony into the lives of those who try to live according to his teachings. In all probability, some Jewish traditionalists will vociferously reject my words again, the second time of coming. They will resent my constant allusion to the ancient Jewish practice of sacrificing animals and birds in the temple to please God and obtain forgiveness of sins. But no matter what their objections may be, the historical fact remains that the temple was a place for offering burnt sacrifices, and the smell thereof hung over Jerusalem. And all the while I knew that the whole edifice of the temple was dedicated to a myth, a figment of man's imagination, a rationalization of what men's minds could not comprehend spiritually. I was here. I felt the hot stones under my sandaled feet and the sun on my head. I argued with the Pharisees, bore their mockery and sneers with some amusement, and watched them as they dogmatically taught a burdensome way of life, of continual obedience to a worthless tradition concerning eating and drinking, which is entirely unnecessary. All right, let me take a break. Entirely unnecessary. I'm reading this and I'm thinking about the church today. How are the thinking of the church different from what the Pharisees were doing back in the day? Oh my gosh. Mm-mm-mm. What? Uh, What? I know. I have to go back and highlight, but this is so much I couldn't stop. This is so much I couldn't stop. Paul, Paul, Paul lied too. Paul, but he did some good stuff. He did some good stuff. He did some good stuff. The church today, mm, yeah, mm. Remember, let me highlight this. You could receive forgiveness of sin by you're willing to forgive others. Okay. And uh, you reap what you sow. That's the law of the universe. And I love this. This is how I taught people to approach the Father directly. And we have to give the credit to the Christian church about praying and would be heard, and your prayers gonna be heard with total faith, with no doubt in your minds, with no doubt in your minds. You must understand that everything I taught, yeah, this is how we pray. Let me do this first before I went on to that. So pray in simple terms. One thing I learned about prayer, you have to be sure of what you want, not what your friends gonna what you want best for you. Not worry about no one else but you. Your prayers must be direct of what you want God to do for you. Not listen, don't go with all that money. Money is not important. When God give you what you want, the money's gonna come. You don't have to worry about the money. Get up and do things. Get up. The energy in the atmosphere is so strong. This time should find you thinking about what you want for the future and move towards it on the direction of the source of your being. Get up, move. You must understand that everything I taught the Jews was in direct conflict and opposition to their religious elders taught them. This is which was why the priests hated and crucified me. Now we know why he was crucified. He wasn't crucified for any sins. Well, you could call it sin. The way it's taught in the church today, Jesus died for your sins. No, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, the sin of you not knowing yourself, that's why. That's why he died. He died because the he was coming against um basically he was messing with the priests, the priests coins. He was messing with their coins. Yeah. He was messing with their coins. That's why he was that. He was crucified and crucified me since I was robbing them for their exalted position as personal henchmen for the Almighty. Yeah, like they have a direct and a special way to God. We all have the same way to God. We all have aspect of him within us, you know? And this is Christ mentioned this in the previous letters too, that because for fear of reprisal after my death, the disciples didn't break entirely from the Jewish teaching, and that's what the church today have to understand. They didn't break from the church teaching. They too were scared to be crucified. You know, they too were scared to be crucified. And some of the Jewish teaching from back then is still in the Christian religion. And this is the part, instead of animals, the body and blood of Jesus were substituted to be sacrificed, offered by the priests upon the altar. Yeah. And the Rome as protector of the Christian religion, like the Jewish priests before them. And I was thinking this the other day, how um nothing, they only change the names, the characters and everything. It's the same thing. So if you read in the Bible that the Jewish did so, now the Romans do it, now the whoever is doing it, they just change the names. It's the same concept coming down. Yeah. Like the Jewish priests, the Roman dressed themselves in costly vestment and used silver and gold up, opportunities for religious ceremonies. hmm Same thing. And in Paul's time, in the time of Paul, this would have been unthinkable. This was simple message of salvation by the death of the cross, which was not the message I brought to my countrymen in Palestine. So, yeah, Paul was, you know, Paul was doing some things, but they probably was all because Christ died, they too was scared to preach Christ's exact true message. And it's the same thing today, mate. And this is what I'm thankful today. At least we won't be hanged um for telling the true meaning behind Christ's ministries. um yeah, Paul was just perpetuating the Jewish tradition of sacrificing other to pay for one's sinning. What shameful cowardice. Poor Paul. But he said, yet Paul also performed a great service to humanity since he set in motion in movement, which will be the means of blessing all races equally. And yeah, this is the flesh. I think he did a great job in talking about the flesh. And maybe he just has to compensate. They just had to compensate. He outlined a mode of thought and daily conduct which would bring harmony into the lives of those who tried to live according to his teaching. In all probability, some Jewish traditions will vociferously reject any words again the second time of coming. So yeah, they're still gonna reject these letters I'm reading. I have to say, I do not have a lot of subscribers, but I haven't experienced any negativity about these letters, I have to say. Wherever I read them, I devoted my channel to these letters. Yes, I do get negative comments about, um, especially the one I did about Muhammad when Christ said he and Muhammad was brother. There was another negative comments about that, especially about God being a woman, the feminine energy. People don't like to hear that. But towards the letters, nothing negative, I have to say. Um, I haven't experienced it. I don't know if behind doors people are talking about these letters that I read, but no one has commented about these letters being a lie or not truth. So I'm thankful for that. Yeah. So they will resent my constant allusion to ancient Jewish practice of sacrificing animals and birds in the temple to please God and obtain forgiveness of sins. But no matter what their objections may be, the historical fact remains that the temple was a place of offering burnt sacrifices, and the smell thereof hung over Jerusalem. And all the while I knew that the whole edifice of the temple was dedicated to a myth, a figment of man's imagination. Mm, hmm A rationalization of what man's minds could not comprehend. And this is such a great way to describe what the church is doing. And when we read the Bible, it's just a rationalization of what our minds can comprehend. Yeah. Yep. Can comprehend spiritually. Yep. I was there. I felt the hot stone on my sandal feet, the sun on my head. I argued with the Pharisees, bore their mockery and sneers with some amusement, and watched them as they dogmatically taught a burdensome way of life, of continual obedience to a worthless tradition concerning eating and drinking, which was entirely unnecessary. And we're still doing this today. We're still eating God flesh and drinking the blood. And we don't see that it's not even necessary. It doesn't matter. No, we don't even see that this is, yeah, it's the drinking the blood and Jesus, the blood of Christ, the blood of Christ. If you understand Christ, you know that the blood is doesn't do anything. Or you want to say the blood of Christ or whatever. It doesn't do anything for you. Well, your belief is another thing too. Your belief, um, sometimes. Okay, let's continue. We'll stop at 9. I was there at times. My amusement ignited a spark of mischief in my mind, and I handed out to the Pharisees the same kind of analytical mockery of their personal habits, their ostentatious clothing, and their laws as they applied to me and my teaching. He is a fool, they said, and loudly ridiculed my statement. The kingdom of God is within you. Tell us, how could God be within a person? They shouted derisively. Using a barrage of contemptuous argument, they called on the prophets and compared their concepts of the Almighty Jehovah with my description of the simple Father, who even had thought for the birds. How could this be, they demanded, when birds were regularly sacrificed in the temple for payment of men's sinning? Would Moses have instituted such a holy practice of burnt sacrifice of birds and beasts, burnt sacrifices, if birds and beasts were of any consequences in the eyes of the Almighty? I remained unmoved as they launched their verbal attacks at me. They only had the conviction of Jewish tradition to support their statements, whilst my mind had been imbued with the true knowledge of existence itself during my illumined experience in the desert. I had been given understanding of the universality and creative goodwill of the Father, which enabled me to perceive and do things which no chief priests or Pharisees or Sadducees or scribes would ever do, because I understood the nature of our source of being. I could, with confidence, put my hands upon a crippled man and raise him up to wholeness again. Who could measure this knowledge against the ridiculous traditional laws of the priest? The priests and Pharisees and all the rest of the religious hocus pocus knew that none of them could do such things, and for this reason they hated me for challenging their authority. They loathed me for my strength in the face of their opposition, and they reviled me for drawing crowds of people when a healing was done which no one could deny. This is what their nothing which no one could deny. There it was, done in the open for all to see, an act of love which the priest averred only God could do, and therefore I must be a child of Satan. Furthermore, they did not see the healing as an act of love, but rather as an inexplicable, blasphemous usurpation of the role of God. They accused me of showing off my magical powers, but could not tell me how I became by such magical powers. Therefore, they decided I must be a son of Beelzebub. Yeah, they can understand it. Now that I have explained the situation, it should be as clear to you who read these words as if it was so very clear to me at the time in Palestine, that the whole hierarchy of Judaism was composed of self-centered, self-important, mixed up men who lived only by rules and laws. When challenged to use their minds, their brains, they could not cope but fell into highly emotional spasm of vitriolic outrage. Was it any wonder that when they brought before their council I held my peace and refused to communicate with such obtuse minds? Mhm. Yeah, this is just Christ explaining what took place between he and the Pharisees, Sadducees, and scribes. Yes, I was truly there in Palestine 2,000 years ago. I lived amongst the ordinary men and women who had been taught to fear Jehovah in a very real way, who were obsessed with paying for burnt sacrifices toward, toward off punishment for their sins. I was raised, indoctrinated to the fear of Jehovah, but I had been born to bring the Jews out of their long slumber of myth and fallacies, to set them free of a burdensome history of wars and bloodshed, brawling and arguments of demanding a head for the loss of an eye, of hidden and secret sinning which counted for nothing if man was found out. If he was if he was then the whole weight of the Mosaic law descended on his head, brought compassion or mercy or even a hesitant thought as to the true circumstances surrounding the transgression. Let me read this again. I think I missed something. Okay. In Palestine, I was raised in indoctrinated fear of Jehovah, but I had been born to bring the Jews out of their long slumber of myth and fallacies, to set them free of a burdensome history of wars and bloodshed, brawlings and arguments of demanding a head for the lust of an eye, of hidden and secret sinning, which counted for nothing if a man was not found out. Ah, so once you sin and no one found out, this it was okay. If he was, then the whole weight of the Mosaic law descended on his head without compassion or mercy or even a hesitant thought as to the true circumstances surrounding the transgression. Yeah, and we're still experiencing that today. So, because I had been born with a mission to open the minds and hearts of the Jews to the reality which had given them life and being, even from an early age, I rejected the Jewish teachings. Some secret depth of spiritual instinct rebelled against the age old Jewish intention to let some other living thing carry responsibility and pay the price for their own waywardness and sinning. Even more than this, I could not accept that a God who was supposed to have created such a wonderful world would rejoice in burnt sacrifices of his own creation, for which he had provided abundantly. You know, that's something they can't even explain. I found it impossible to have respect for such illogical beliefs and practices. After my illumination in the desert, I became passionate in my rejection of Jewish traditions. Just as I came in human body 2,000 years ago to rescue the Jewish nation from an edifice of artificial and man made burdensome religious practice, so have I come through the medium of these letters distributed worldwide to make it abundantly clear that the Christian religion in no way reflects my true Christ message, either as I taught in Palestine or at the present time when these letters will arouse the fury and condemnation of Orthodox Christians. Okay, let me highlight this boldly. This is why these letters come. This is when they talk about the return of Christ. Okay. I come through the medium of these letters distributed worldwide to make it abundantly clear that the Christian religion in no way reflects my true Christ message, either as I taught it in Palestine or at this present time, when these letters will arouse the fury and condemnation of Orthodox Christians. The Christian religion, as it stands at this time, is only a hodgepodge of the muddled thinking of my disciples, selective recollections. Uh, let me not be tongue tied. All right, one more time. Start over. The Christian religion, as it stands at this time, is only a hodgepodge of the muddled thinking of my disciples, selective recollections, and Paul's worthy homilies and other early writings. Much later, when the impact of Christianity lacked the visual effect of the gods and goddesses of the Romans. The Christian religion was adorned with theatrical but expedient nonsense to impress those whom the ecclesiastical empire of Rome desired to draw into their fold. This empire lately imposed monetary burdens and on the gullible people, even more inquisitions now, even more inquisious than the taxes demanded by the secular Roman Empire on conquered nations. Even Caesar did not demand payment for souls to gain entrance in heaven. We're just happening. There's something going viral about tithing, money, and all that. Entrance in heaven. Ah, all right, I have to read this again. Let me highlight it. The Christian religion, as it stands at this time, is only a hotchpotch of the muddled thinking of my disciples' selective recollections and Paul's worthy, homilies, and other early writings. Much later, when the impact of Christianity lacked the visual effect of the gods and goddesses of Romans, the Christian religion was adored with theatrical but expedient nonsense to impress those whom the ecclesiastical empire of Rome desired to draw into their fold. And it's still doing that today. The church have to look good so they can come in. Oh my gosh. This empire later imposed monetary burdens. And it's still giving tithes today with money that people don't even have. Like we have to pay to go to heaven. We have to pay for our blessings. If we want God to bless us, we have to give money of all things that doesn't have any even physical value. Mm. This empire lately imposed monetary burdens on the gullible people, even more inquisitive than the taxes demanded by the secular Roman Empire on conquered nations. Even Caesar did not demand payment for souls to gain entrance to heaven. Huh? Ugh. You may wonder why I'm so explicit in my rejection of Judaism and Christianity. It is vital to the success of the distribution of my Christ message that people should fully understand the true nature of religions which held humanity in their grip until the 20th century, until they do realize the mythical foundations on which they have placed all their convictions. People will find it difficult to let go of their cherished beliefs. Yeah, and that's what's happening today. That's what's happening today. Even though you point out like certain things don't make sense. Certain things don't make sense. It's hard. It's hard. People has been programmed in the last 100 years, 200 years about this church, about the traditions, about and now people even think, we become so judgmental, you know. People, everyone has to open their eyes to the truth. And the truth. They have to understand the truth. Religion was just placed here as a control mechanism. It's a controlled mechanism for the people that we live outside of who we naturally are. And in return, we suffer sickness, we suffer lack, we suffer so many demises come to us Just because we don't understand, yeah, we don't have the knowledge, and the Bible says, "For a lack of knowledge, my people perish." My people perish for a lack of knowledge. All right, I'm going to read this one again. You may wonder why I'm so explicit in my rejection of Judaism and Christianity. It is vital to the success of the distribution of my Christ message that people should fully understand the true nature of religions which held humanity in their grip until the 20th century, until they do realize the mythical foundations on which they have placed all their mythical, this is it, the mythical foundations on which they have placed all their convictions. Mythical, it's all a myth. Oh, Paul, John, Paul, Mark, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they couldn't even remember what happened. They too were so scared of the Jews that they mixed the truth with the lies. And it comes down to today. It comes to us, we're getting the watered down version. And when we tell people to go within, ask God for direction, that you understand this word, you know? We think, oh no, we can't ask God. God is separate from us. God is too big, you know? Yeah, and people will find it difficult to let go of their cherished beliefs. You have to. It's like you don't have a choice. All right. Please understand that when I make such statements, I am referring to the Christian religion, to the tenets of faith, to the dogma and theology. I am not referring to those great spiritual souls who have sought and continue to seek God and truth beyond the dogma and beliefs. Many of these have received my inspiration into their minds and hearts, but are afraid to let go of their cherished beliefs. They have hampered, they are hampered by religious practices. This time has come for them to let them go and grow in spirituality and awareness of their true source of being and take their congregation with them. I'm waiting for that church. I'm waiting for that spiritual church. Mm, I'm waiting for that church. I'm waiting for that church. I can feel this. But just like the disciples back then, it was hard for them to break away from um, the Jewish sect, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the scribes, because they killed Christ, and they were worried about, the disciples were probably worried about them getting killed, so they do the mixing, you know. As for today, the church has become um, such a comfortable place for people. You know, people don't want to do the work. They depend on the pastor, so they glorify the pastor. They put the pastors and leaders on these pedestals, and they call them man of God, woman of God, and their bed and the churches are experiencing a better than attitude, and not to mention the money. Not to mention the money that allows some of them to live this fabulous lifestyle. So Christ is saying, listen, I'm imprinting on their mind the truth of why I came to this minute, to this earth, the truth of who they are. I am putting in their mind, and they're scared. Who are these people out there? If you in the church, if you're a pastor, even if you're not in a leadership role, then let's say the Christian community, who are these people out there that receiving that the Christ you pray to and call for help is placing in your mind the truth about his ministry, the truth about who you are, the truth that you should take your congregation into this direction. Who are these people that can't let go this physical world, that cannot let go what they were taught, what the Christian church has taught them many years ago, even though it doesn't make sense. You have to let go. All right, let me read it one more time. So please understand that when I make such statements, I am referring to Christian religion, to the tenets of faith, to the dogma and theology. I am not referring to those great spiritual souls who have sought and continue to seek God and truth beyond the dogma and beliefs. Many of these have received my inspiration. See? Many of these have received my inspiration into their minds and hearts, but are afraid to let go of their cherished beliefs. They are hampered by religious practices. The time has come for them to let them go and grow in spirituality and awareness. That's what the time we're going back to. That's the new earth. It's spirituality. That's an awareness is what we call consciousness, knowledge of self, knowledge of the universe, of their true source of being. Understand who you are. The God you're looking for is within. And that's going to be the next the what we're going after in the new earth. There's nothing outside of you. The God you're looking for is within, is behind what your eyes is showing you here. Tap into it. Seek, and you will find. That's the new, if they're going to be a church, that's what it's gonna, the foundation of the church. As it says, Peter, on this rock I'll build my church, and the gates of hell will never prevail. What was so special why Christ said that to Peter? Hmm? Why did he tell Peter that what he said is going to be the new foundation for the church? He said, who am I? Who am I? Who men say I am? I think he said. He said, who do men say I am? Right? And Peter says, you are the Christ. You are the Christ. And immediately Christ knew, listen, flesh and blood didn't tell you that. Peter, you tap into your divinity. Peter, you tap into the source of your being. That's what Christ was saying. Flesh and blood didn't tell Peter that. Peter tapped into, I think I heard someone said that Peter represents your hearing. Peter tapped into his divinity, the source of his being, the father, the mother that Christ been tapping into on his time in the earth. And the revelation came. The revelation knowledge came to Peter. And that's what the church is going to build on. Anything else is going to fall away. You got the next church is going to depend on you tapping into your divinity, tapping into the God you are. That's what the next church is going to be. Yeah. To the Christian churches of every denomination, I say, wake up. The time has come for you to rouse yourselves from a long, unnatural sleep when reason has been suppressed by hypnotic and emotional traditions. These have been handed down through centuries by a succession of people claiming to be the highest authority on all that I taught in Palestine. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid of the consequences if you examine your past beliefs and want to cleanse them from your thinking. Get rid of the cobwebs of illusion and think. I just can imagine Christ was so direct. And that's how you get when you understand who people are, when you understand the power, um, the gods that everybody sees. The goal on earth is to see everybody as the gods they are. Oh my gosh, 9/11. Oh my gosh, I can't stop reading. Yeah, to see everyone as the gods they are. I have to break this video up, and it's gonna be too long because it's too good. Yeah, let me read this again. Christ was so direct. Okay, let me highlight this. All right, to the Christian churches of every denomination, I say, wake up. The time has come for you to rouse yourselves from a long, unnatural sleep when reason has been suppressed by hypnotic and emotional traditions. These have been handed down through the centuries by a succession of people claiming to be the highest authority on all that I taught in Palestine. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid of the consequences if you examine your past beliefs and want to cleanse them from your thinking. Get rid of the cobwebs of illusion and think. When Christian ministers fully accept that I, the Christ, have truly returned to speak to people worldwide, like lightning striking from the east to west, and are ready to teach my true message from the pulpit. You will find your churches filling again with people eager to find and make contact with the reality. Oh, my thing is dying. Okay, everyone, my computer almost died. But so if you're online and you're still there, thank you. Okay. All right. Let me start over. When Christian ministers full accept that I, the Christ, have truly returned to speak on people worldwide, like lightning strike from the east to west, and are ready to teach my true message from the pulpit, you will find your churches filling again with people eager to find and make contact with the reality, which will lead them to live in total harmony with their truth of being. Alternatively, you ministers of religion who willfully and egotistically continue to teach the dogma of Christianity to save face and your stipends will watch your religion die a natural death during the next 30 years and will be abandoned by your congregation who are already sensing that your words are only words in which there is no spiritual life. You will see your church is taken over by those who have realized that I, myself, have indeed returned to humanity to show them the way to find and enter the kingdom of heaven. Mm, mm. Uh, 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 yeah. Yes, so Christ returns. This is it. This is the Christ return you've been waiting for. There will also be those positions of authority are threatened by these letters from Christ, from me. They will oppose them mightily. They will there will be vilification of every kind through the services of every type of media from people who have no scruples in stirring up public wrath to make money from destructive vindictiveness, sensationalism. I have to tell you that the greater the uproar worldwide, the more swiftly my letters reach and convince those people who are weary of the old beliefs that at last they have heard the simple truth of being. They will swiftly respond to its love and call to leave the lower levels of human consciousness to start their ascent to the higher spiritual levels where they will begin to experience the first inflow of interior peace and contentment. Yeah, yeah. This is what's coming. This is what's coming. You could feel it. You could feel it. There will be conflict throughout the entertainment industry since more and more people will recognize and turn against the violence and degradation with which their entire consciousness, mind, emotions, body have been fed by degenerates obsessed by making themselves a fortune. These spiritual ghouls have understood the strange fascination of the unholy and macabre for ignorant people who have been so surf, surfeited with the security, comfort, and luxury in the 20th century. They no longer find contentment in them. They need excitement to stimulate their jaded consciousness. Were the lives of people truly as horrible as is depicted in the entertainment they watch daily, they would turn from their screens in search of something beautiful and easeful to the to rest their tortured nervous system. And yet, if you will reflect honestly on the conditions of your present lives, you will realize that they are already becoming a terror inducing mirror image of all that your entertainment industry has given you in the last 50 years. And people are already turned away from the entertainment and the celebrity culture. People already turned away from it. Yeah, people have been fed on the worst scenarios possible by cinema, TV, books, and media sensationalism, and are now complaining that the former sense of security they previously enjoyed has been whipped away from them. I see you on earth presently barricaded behind electric fences, high spiked walls guarded by security men who themselves traitorously murder the people they guard. I see men and women who previously walked the streets and country lanes fearlessly at night, now locked up behind security gates, afraid of the most despicable and brutal attacks. I see races traumatized by their own people. I see genocide, revolutions, bombings, assassinations, mindless killing of every description. They murdered some, the murdered come through into their next existence, still traumatized by the shock of their unexpected passing. I see them and minister to them. If they are able to see and receive me, many people. No. So Christ is saying, you see the murderers, the people who has been murdered come to him on the other side and they minister to them if they are able to see and receive him. Many people are far from ready to move on to a higher form of existence. And so they dwell in the shadows until they are released through rebirth. Oh, you see? And that's what they called. They are released through rebirth. Yeah, yeah, rebirth. They come back. People come back. And that's another thing that doesn't talk about in the church. Yeah. Earthly life has become the hell which you depict on your screens and in your literature. Why? Because your so called civilized culture permits brutality in all its perverted forms to enter your homes through the medium of your TV for your titilla titillation and excitement. You wanted it, and now you have it in its most real form within your own daily experience. No one is immune from these disasters you have brought on yourselves. Yeah. Do you wonder that I, the Christ, have returned to you at this time to explain to you what you have done to yourself? Huh? What you have done to yourself? Yeah. How would it be possible for any spiritual embodiment of love, reincarnation? I think um, Christ is talking about reincarnation. How would it be possible? And I'm thinking, when people die so violently, I think it's the goal not to reincarnate, but when you die so violently, you think you want to go back because even if you die without finishing what you started, it seems as if you want to come back to finish it. But when you come back, they wipe your memories anyway. So you're probably not going to start you because you're going to start from a baby. I don't know if you get to if you come back, you get to finish what you started. And you probably did because what if in my past lives I didn't I didn't accept this truth? And something in your DNA probably just push you to do what you come here to do. And oh, would it possible for any spiritual embodiment of love to remain remote from such agony of spirit and fail to reach out to render help when help is possible? Therefore, as I said before, I am not alone in my work. I speak for every master as I speak through these letters. Every master is ministering to those who follow his earthly teachings. Every master is calling on their adherent to read, heed, pray that they may absorb the truth within these pages and strive to cleanse their thoughts and actions and become the embodiment of love to all. And there's a lot of master teachers that have come through this earth. Buddha, Muhammad, Krishna, I think. Yeah, there's a lot of people, enlightened beings who've been here. It says, but these letters will set in motion a season of change. When people truly wake up to what has been done to their consciousness worldwide by greedy, unscrupulous, and degenerate tycoons, they will experience extreme hunger. The public will begin to recognize the insidious and devious ways in which we have been gradually enticed into the webs of abomination. And that's what's happening now. People are waking up to the truth, you know. Um, they they put us against each other. Um, while they behind the scenes, they they do what they want to do. And I, the Christ, have to tell you that when this happens, you will no longer find the word abomination old fashioned and out of date. You will clearly perceive the difference between wholesome, life giving consciousness forms, words, and destructive consciousness patterns. You will rebel and nationally call the destructive consciousness forms abominations. Conscientious are truly loving parents. Conscientious and truly loving parents will become particularly vocal against the present form of entertainment and will prevent their children from continuing to view the decadence of unpleasant emotive language, unbridled violence, promiscuous, emotionally superficial sex presently and on offer on your screens and books and media. Your society is riddled with these low, despicable consciousness creations which are carried through into human lives and human actions, you know. Parents will also come to the realization that since the consciousness forms created within their children's minds are the ever enlarging foundations of their children's future lives as adults, they will begin to investigate the ethical values taught in schools. No longer will parents be concerned about the religions taught in schools, since these will only be of interest to a minority, but they will be very seriously interested in the kind of philosophies for living attitudes, arguments, conflicts, statements encouraged or tolerated in school in the future by teachers and pupils alike. And we see parents have a role to play in this time um, about what our children. I know people are so worried about religion taught in school, but we're not worried about um, other things. Groups will band together to start small schools on the foundation of these letters, since the old factual material will be abandoned as obsolete. And we see the president right now is getting rid of the Board of Education and all that. Let me tell you, I don't know why we can't just sit down and relax and watch everything takes place, because if it was good for us, he couldn't have touched it. He couldn't have touched it. He couldn't. So groups will band together. What time? 9:30. Yeah, I'm gonna read a little more and I'm gonna stop on page 10. Okay. Groups will band together to start small schools on the foundation of these letters, since the old factual material will be abandoned as obsolete. Emphasis will be placed on languages, the arts, logic, the art of effective, inspiring communication, the development of constructive, creative imagination, mathematics and science, and manual skills. Imagination. The curriculum will be centered around the development of an ability to differentiate between truth and myth, to perceive clearly the highest values to be adopted and cherished, and the most constructive, productive way to use them in life to improve conditions for them, for the South, the nation, and the world generally. The child will also be, let me see. Yeah, this is the future of our school. This is the future of schools. Not what they didn't teach us how to navigate this realm, how to secure finance and nothing. The child will also be taught to become proficient in those science and manual skills which will enable him to work joyfully and successfully in his chosen field to endeavor. Children will be tutored within a new aura of concern and love and shown how they can contribute to such concern and love in the classrooms. Yeah, yeah. So what you see currently going on in the White House is just what has to happen. They know it. They know it. They will be encouraged to work with joy and happiness. If this does not come easily, the unhappy child will be shown how joy and happiness may be achieved and we be rewarded successfully. People will be valued according to their commitment to seeking higher levels of spiritual thought and their dedication to serving the interests of the underprivileged and communities generally. And yeah, so we're going to leave it here. We'll finish up chapter 7 next week. This was, I didn't, as always, um, I didn't know I was going to go all out, but this, Christ just laid out his true ministry, is why he came here, what really happened, what really happened in Palestine, what happened with his disciples, what happened with Paul, the truth about the church, um, and all that, and Christianity. And we just got a real good knowledge tonight about the things that we have believed so long. We need to think. Knowledge, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Too long we've been programmed by what we grow up learning. We have to start thinking. We have to use that God-given, God-given ability within us to question everything. Anything goal that we have to worship. And as the topic tonight is worshiping is paganism. Worshiping this God and worshiping its paganism. It shows a separation between you and your creator. And God can't go back on his word because he said, there's no separation. You can't take me from you. I am you. You are me. We have to just be grateful. We have to create a relationship. God is love, and that's where we should start. And he lives within me. I in him and he in me. And my life need to exemplify him. I'm thankful for one of my subscribers who remind me of the scripture that Christ said in Philippians, let the same mind be in Christ be in you. And we see what Christ did when he was on earth. Nothing he did without his Father, and that's how we have to be. Christ didn't say worship him. He didn't want you to call him God. Because he's probably in a higher dimension than us, but we're still brothers. Get out to worshiping Jesus and worshiping, and not even worshiping, and having a relationship with your higher selves, the God within you, whether you want to call it Jehovah, Yahweh, whatever you want to call the God within you, the source of your being, this creator, the source of of everything. Have a relationship. It's not outside of you, it's within you. That's who we are. And yes, and I'm thankful. If you want to post this video, if you guys, you could read the Christ letters or you could rewatch this this presentation tonight. And this we're on letter 7, and we'll continue letter 7. And Father, Mother God, Christ, oh Christ, 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 I thank you for the enlightenment of this world. I can feel it running through every aspect of my being, the passion for the love for us. This is all love, the love you have for your brothers and your sisters. The love when you see us going down the wrong path, when you see us going out of self, you descend in consciousness with this recorder, and you brought this letter to us for us to understand your true ministry. I'm thankful. I'm thankful for the directness. I'm thankful for clearing up your time spent on this earth. I'm thankful for allowing us to see through, have an experience with you, through the different dimensions of understanding of who we are as children on this earth. And I am so thankful that you returned. You returned to give us this letter so we too can ascend in consciousness and become knowledge of self and have that peace and that love and to that togetherness experience this heaven on earth. I am thankful for that. Thankful and grateful. Thank you for everyone that's going to see this message. Thank you for those who stayed with me through this presentation on the different platforms. I am thankful for everyone who's seen it. I pray, God, that I pray also, Christ, that you may impress on their minds and their thoughts and their hearts of who they are also. I am thankful. Thankful tonight. Thankful, thankful, thankful. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you. If you ever join us, stay, sis. Thank you, my faithful sister in Christ always. Thank you for your continual support. Thank you always. Thank you. Blessings, sis. Blessings. I hope you have a wonderful night. Blessings.